Hey, good morning. How you guys doing? Everybody's got a coffee? Is your dog's water bowl full? Did you got your treats ready? It's good time to get your puppy quickly out for a potty before we're gonna sit down and talk about stuff. So, hi, this is Roman with Holistic Dog Training, and we have a coffee and answer questions. So, what questions do you have? What are you struggling with? What do you need answers? Okay, so today we're gonna answer pretty much everything like every day we do. Um, when you do have a question, I would like you to add your dog's age, sex, and breed. I would like you to describe with few words what do you need help with, and of course, you stay tuned so you have the answer. Because sometimes I need some additional questions, and I will be grateful if you'll be there so you can answer the questions. So, when you watch and you want to give Facebook permission to share your information, it only shows your name. Don't worry about it. I I, I will not look behind those names. But in order to address, because it would just show viewer or whatever, I would not know who what is, and I will not be able to combine the questions. So again, this is Ron with Holistic Dog Training, and I'm here in Eugene, Oregon, and it's raining on one side of the house, and it's kind of like cloudy, but a little bit of sun shows out on the other side, and we're having coffee. So, what's going on with you guys? Where are you from? Tell me where you're watching from, and tell me a little bit about your dog. Like, hi, I'm Frank. My Cane Corso, or my Great Pyrenees, or my Great Dane, or my pit is living with me, hanging out in the living room in Idaho, whatever, or in Australia, or whatever. So, meanwhile, while you guys figure that out, um, you can comment in the comment line. Um, be respectful to people who ask questions. Not everybody knows everything. Um, and for those people who literally have a question and which sounds like ridiculous to us, it's people have the right to ask questions, right? Hey, good morning, Facebook user from Arkansas. How you guys doing? So, Laura DeVito, how do you get an 11-month-old Pyrenees to stop jumping all over my senior Pyrenees? I've tried distraction one inside, one outside. Puppy goes to training, walks on an acre to run around in, and does. My senior girl growls at him. He's starting to stand up to her. They fight occasionally, just all words, no biting. Oh, okay. So let's check in on that a little bit. Good. Barrett. Oh, Barrett is your dog. Okay. And hi to Canada. How you guys doing? So I hope you guys have a better weather than we do. So let's answer Laura's first question. So first of all, an 11-year-old can be a handful. And one thing that's concerning to me is that that concept that the puppy is stand up for her is kind of like a weird concept. Why are you allowing the puppy to be all over your dog's face in that case? The reason why is senior dogs or adult dogs are not born nannies. Parenting is a learned behavior. It's not something the dogs came pre-programmed. And if the dog doesn't have parenting experience, meaning is he hasn't been one or two generations in a family system that explains or shows or has this experience of being parented or seeing parenting happening, the dog has no clue what to do with it. So it's on the dog's, emotional abilities to deal with it. So in other words, if a dog has not been raised in a family, in a dog family, and usually dog families consist about 2 to 3 generations of dogs in the same family system, um, then that dog has no clue. It doesn't know what to do with it. Dogs have certain expectations, however, because they are social beings and they learn in their social environment how to interact with others, if that is the case. And then the puppy comes in, that's all over the place. There's no regulation in place, and the puppy is so energetic and wants to explore and jump and learn. And dogs, especially guardian breeds, do have interactions with others, learning their skills, learning how to be, quickly and snapping and biting. They're basically trained for the job. But if there is no job description and there is no job regulation, that dog goes all over his place with his breed traits. So if one breed trait is persistence, and the dog is persistently going after you, an adult dog, and there is nobody um, only weird on the other dog, then the other dog doesn't have a thing to help with. So he has no tools to help with. And this is where parenting comes in, your parenting skills to help the puppy regulate his emotions and regulate his behaviors in regards to other dogs. Now, your dog basically tries to control the situation, and that control is limited because it's not his puppy, it's your puppy. So you're supposed to take care of it. And I know the concept of people saying, let dogs be dogs. No, that's not how it goes, because you don't let a 5-year-old hang around with a 20-year-old and let kids be kids. You don't do that. There are parenting regulations, and then if those dogs don't have emotional skills to handle those emotions, then you need to control it, which means the reason why your puppy steps up for himself is because there's nobody else there to help him. And so your dog only thing is going to end up in a dog fight, quite serious, because right now it's still kind of like pushed low, but at some point it will escalate around month 12, 13, where your puppy can still do a serious damage and your other dog will resist, because that needs to be addressed. So I highly recommend to kind of look into that aspect. You're welcome to message me. We can sit together and have a video consultation and see the situations and see the breed traits of your dog. Put those two things together and recognizing how both dogs are socially capable of handling situations, and put the training plan together so you guys finally give that dog the educational needs that for him to be social experienced. That's it. And it's not something you learn in training classes, because training classes is to teach the dog to be a little bit social. He's supposed to be already knowledgeable about how to interact with others, and doing obedience doesn't tell anything about social behavior. It's just being obedient. It's kind of like being obedient driver and not respecting others. Meaning is, because you have green, you're not allowed to drive over anybody else who accidentally didn't drive at green. Make sense? So obedience does not teach morals and ethics, which you have a problem with, and obedience doesn't teach social skills, which you have a problem with. And of course, you need more help than the dog at that point, because the dog will just do as much as he's possible to. He's fine in class, but he's a mess at house. So we have a problem with that. Does it make sense? Let me know if you have any questions on that. So, who's next? Facebook user. I don't know why my comments are only half posting. This is Mary Coates, Arkansas. Oh, okay. I don't know either. I didn't see anything. I only saw one post. So you have an English Mastiff. Oh, that's Barrett. My two-year-old English Mastiff. He is normally very well behaved. However, she doesn't do well with visitors, mainly men, especially when my husband isn't home. Okay. He doesn't do well with visitors when my husband is not home. FedEx or Amazon deliveries are an issue. He seems to be scared to go up to the person from the front. He will go behind. Oh, okay. So here, what I would say, I don't know how old your puppy is. I don't see that in your comments, so you want to add that information for me so I can see that. Um, and you guys need to give Facebook permission to share your name because I don't know who is asking the questions. So I see a question with a burble, and I see a question um, with a Sharpei. So I don't really know. Okay. Um, you see, I don't know who is two. I don't see it on my side. I'm good. Okay, so anyway, let's answer that question with Barrett. So, oh, Mayor, codes from Arkansas. Okay, now I have the name. And so we have a fearful dog, and he's two, and he's afraid of visitors. The question is, when did this behavior start? So when we look at behaviors like this, people hop up quick to say, oh, my dog is aggressive. And I feel, what, I missed something here? Okay, that's a good point. And then what happens with dogs who have eventually a traumatic experience in the past in their home environment, they just don't trust anything. And that can happen very quickly, especially around month 6 to 9, where dogs have a kind of a overlapping second fear phase of fear of strangers and fear of new situations. It's kind of an overlapping behavior. Um, Sorry, I missed the name. Nah. I need more coffee. So, life stage. Now got it. So it's overlapping life stage. In these situations, our response makes a huge difference how the dog perceives it. So if usually dogs get very scared and very sensitive about new situations, and what usually we do, we try to calm the dog down, but we're not addressing the issue the puppy has. Our response sometimes makes things worse. Like we're trying to correct the dog for misbehavior, not recognizing that the dog actually is in a fear response. And he's scared. Why he's scared? Because his hormonals are changing and everything is scary right now because he needs to learn that in nature there's nothing safe except near your family. So while in the first imprint period we have, or the first development stages, we have the dog feeling safe in his home, in his environment, with his parents, with his siblings, everything is safe, everybody's taking care of each other. Soon enough, he has to be very, very careful because he will be a victim or he will be a prey if he is not watching his back and if he's trusting everyone. Like a snake comes up and they're like, hi snake, can I sniff you? And you're dead. Oh, hi big animal, can I sniff you? And you're dead. You don't do that. So what is that makes the dog be safe? Is that stage of being fear and start associating how his response affects something else, and also how you respond into those situations because he's looking up to you. So I believe something happened when he was a puppy around 6 to 9 months of age, and that dog took it wrong way how unsafe your house is. But also there are other aspects to come to that problem. Nutrition could be an effect. The dog is overly stressed and he has allergies, he doesn't feel well. Now things coming up your porch, and dogs naturally are guarding their safe space and they start feeling challenged. And our response again makes things worse. And sometimes we have underlying medical conditions that are not really visible, but the dog is struggling because he has itches and pains and he has inflammations. And all those things do have an effect for your dog, how fit the dog feels in his environment. And if he doesn't feel fit to handle situations, he will be proactive. That makes sense? So, in order to address those issues, your dog is relying on your husband. So your husband is his secure attachment. So he trusts your husband taking care of business. But when your husband leaves, that relationship is broken and your dog doesn't feel safe. Okay? Doesn't mean you're wrong. It's just the way the dog perceives it. So the best way to approach that is to start working with your dog. However, one other thing that I want to look for is the way your husband works with your dog. What is that training based on? The way that training is being approached. For example, what tools do I use to convey an information? How do I define the job description? What do I do if my dog does something wrong? Because we can go in the wrong direction in training and make the dog insecure and codependent. And when this person leaves, the dog basically falls apart, right? Because the dog doesn't have confidence. And so aversive training approaches do create insecure dogs. Okay. And even I know from people who do believe their training approach is totally okay and acceptable, but the dog is the one who feels strange about it, and the dog is the one who has a problem. So we have to look at that. So I would say that's quite of a complex situation to handle, and giving you kind of like a random out of the book advice is not really what's helping here. Maybe you guys message me, have your husband, maybe sit together, we're gonna do a short video and talk about how this is set up, because I think you can change that, because all the dog wants is the problem to go away. Speaking of that, dogs offer behaviors for two main reasons. One is to avoid behaviors, and one is to gain more of those situations. Sorry, one is to avoid situations, and one is to gain more of the situations. So those behaviors called functional behaviors. So we have functional behaviors, we have trauma involved, we have lack of education involved, we have wrong job description involved. So many things that make that not working well for you. So I hope that answered your question so far. So scaredy cat he is. So next is, my almost 10-year-old Burble has been dog reactive since having negative dog experience as a puppy. Yes. Now, Burbles are a complex breed, and I would say those past experiences are post-traumatic stress disorder attached. So if the dog has a bad experience as a puppy, and the way the whole event happened, or the puppy went too early, likely under 6 months, he had all the goodwill to meet other dogs, and all of a sudden the ones he believed are fine suddenly are not. So the dog really doesn't trust anyone. So definitely, if your dog is 10 years old and that fear consistently for 10 years, there's a lot of episodic memory involved. He literally reacts seeing the dog or thinking that a dog is coming up. So in that process, the dog literally has a negative thinking pattern. Let me give you an example. I say a word, shark. How does it sound to you? What emotions will come up? If you see a fin in the water, what emotions will come up? If you're in the water and you feel a shark will be there, what emotions will come up, right? And then all of a sudden I will ask you another question. How do you feel about shark vacuum cleaner without doing any advertising? All of a sudden your brain is like, oh yeah, vacuum cleaner, duh, it's no problem, right? And then if I ask you again the questions, how do you feel about shark? Your brain pauses because it tries to understand if there's an attached word to that shark or not. And so all of a sudden that negative thinking pattern is interrupted, and your brain tries to get out of that fear thought and stay in the happy thought. So your brain stops having negative thoughts at that point because there is an outlet. So what we want to do with your dog in that case, we want to help your dog create positive association. What you see as a dog attacking you is not always the case. At least we get a 50% chance when the dog sees a dog, he's not going into a PTSD response. And then it's our response as well. How does your dog trust in that relationship when you guys going out for a walk and meet another dog or see another dog? If the dog doesn't have that secure attachment relationship, the first thing the dog will do is feeling threatened and try to deal with it. However, having the dog trust you to that process and being able to listen to you to that process, we will be able to teach your dog before he goes into this PTSD response, when his emotions from excitement switches to anxiety. We want the dog to learn to check in with you and tell you, hey, I'm going to lose my poop right now. I need some help. And you will be able to intervene and help your dog out. Now, if your dog is not open for intervention or open for your help, you will not be able to help your dog, because your dog will go from 0 to 100 in a millisecond and you have no time to intervene. And once your dog feels threatened and in PTSD response, he's in survival mode, there is no way you can reach into your dog's brain to help him out. So we want to create a switch or a default behavior the moment your dog sees the threat and the trigger, to automatically, the first thing to do is disconnect from the trigger, connect with you and tell you, I have a problem with that, help. And then you can step in and get your dog out. But to do that, you have to program your dog to do certain default behaviors. For example, teaching him properly emotionally associated tasks. For example, come, let's go, wait, slow. Make sense? And then from that perspective, if the dog perceives come as the need to follow you or to come to you, let's go, the need to go with you in the same direction, wait is the need to not move any further, and the dog is being helped by giving him commands to navigate through his emotions in that incident. So literally, it's not about training and obedience, it's about how the dog perceives these cues that you give him. It's not as controlling rather than directing. Okay, that's what I think it needs to be worked. Yes, I can help you with that. So hold on, I don't want to lose. Yeah, Laura, you're welcome. That was it. On what's that? I try to remind my girl they are friends, but she goes ballistic. Well, here's the thing. I think I answered the questions. I think you are the same person with the verbal, right? Now, I feel that try to explain your dog in human words what's going on. It's okay, baby. It's not going to help. It isn't going to cut it at all, because your dog is over threshold. So see this. You have under threshold, you have at threshold, and you have over threshold. In other words, you're in the living room, nice and cozy, warm in your PJs. That's under threshold. Suddenly, you are at the door. Okay, you open the door, but you're still in the living room, but you get this cold breeze coming in. Now you have a choice. You go in or you stay out. You are at threshold, in actually exactly at the threshold, before the threshold, like in that borderline where you're still standing in the living room, but you're not on the threshold of the door. So it's not just like you feel cold, but you can feel the breeze. This is the moment where I want your dog to turn back to you and tells, it's cold outside. What I should do? And you say, get your coat, for example, right? Now, if your dog is at the door, he's already cold and he's already at threshold dealing with the situation. He's trying already to think, his body responds already to goosebumps, these things, right? And I'm giving here an example like to associate with. If he leaves that threshold and he steps into the front porch in the cold, he's already over threshold. Okay, so the threshold is the door. We want the dog to connect before he steps on the threshold with you, not on the threshold. And definitely over threshold, when he's beyond that stage, he will not be able to communicate with you because his system basically goes on default behavior, which is exactly what you have a problem with. Make sense? So going with you through those steps so you can better understand what the threshold is and how to navigate your dog through that, that takes a couple of sessions for you to kind of get the concept and teach your dog and create those conditions where your dog feels safe with you. You have those tools and skills to positive reinforce this behavior that you want him to achieve in the goal. And it's not something you can deal with when your dog already is triggered. Like if you're freezing cold and I'm telling you about the theory about being warm, that doesn't help you at all because right now you need a jacket, right? But if I can be able to address your dog before he has this exposure, then it's much easier for you to work with your dog because he's basically consciously present to listen to you, right? Good. You're in Canada with a dog reactive older variable Phoenix with double dog neighbors next door. Okay. So that's kind of complicated because your dog is daily exposed to a trigger. You basically let your dog out to the dogs and being harassed. I don't know how the other dogs live with each other and how the dog respond to him, but I feel something we can address. How about you make a video from your sliding door, whatever, open your door, let your dog out, and give me overview what's going on there. What does your dog do? Like start from the moment you open the sliding, before you open the sliding door, how is your dog behaving, right? And so we have positive and negative experiences happening at the same time. So I would like you to learn how to assess those situations and what's happening if you open that door. What's happening if you invite your dog to go outside? What's happening if your dog already is in that fear of A, has the need to go outside, and B, that is being punished by the other dog. So you have primary reinforcers and secondary reinforcers or punishers, all these coming together at the same time, which is kind of complex to explain, but we can talk that about. You guys are really, really big bucket lists here, right? Yeah, sure. I mean, I understand that many people think that because a dog is dog reactive, he's being threat to a cat, right? Or he's threat to children. I've seen people asking questions like, my dog killed a cat. Are my kids now in danger? No. Okay, there are different reasons for the dogs to do that. Good. Wow. Okay, you guys really, really ask awesome questions. Good. So, a quick reminder what's going on here. Hey, this is Roman with Holistic Dog Training, and we are answering questions while we're having a coffee. So, super awesome questions happened today. So, I really appreciate you guys. So, I just missed that one. During that time period, my sister was very sick. Ooh, I'm so sorry to hear. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that makes totally sense. So, that in that period of time, all those incidents happens, the dog loses trust in safety in his own house. So his secure space and safe space is being basically traumatized. It's nothing different than you coming home from work and somebody invaded your house, went through your clothes, went through your private stuff. And the funny part is you can do nothing about it. It can happen at any time because it's not only once, it can happen multiple times in a row. You're freaking out. You don't trust your home. I know some people that just move out of the house, move out of another country. Makes sense? So that's definitely likely the root of the whole thing. Yes, we can work on that. It's a little bit it's complicated because we have to create completely new conditions, create safe places for your dog that are uninvadable, and create a secure attachment with your dog, especially around strangers. Desensitize all these individual small triggers. For example, somebody driving the driveway, car passing by, people knocking at the door, people entering the house and exiting the house. And I know, and I'm sorry for your sister, this is something that had priority for you that you can have no control to change. But you can help your dog from now on slowly get it back to a manageable level for at least how long your dog and how easy your dog will be associating with people, what to expect for people who come to the door. People don't come to take things away from your house. It's really traumatic from a child. See, from a child perspective, when you have these incidents happen in your house and the child doesn't really understand what's happening, and dogs don't have a logic, okay? They're here to help, doesn't mean anything because the person just left with other people, they just took him away. It looks like a violent action. So from a dog's perspective, it could be a domestic violence picture, and that's a lot to take in for a dog. Okay, so Again, super awesome. How do you guys like um, so far? Is it something you can associate with? Do you learn from that? What is your takeaway from this? What we did today? And just a reminder, I know some people questioning if online training can help you in person dealing with these complex situations. Where how helpful was the answer right now? Understanding what's going on, and then how easy you think is gonna be for you once you have a little bit more information about having kind of a training protocol put together for you, what matches exactly your family conditions and your dog situation, that is exactly designed for your family, so you can actually use those tools instead, not just bulk, kind of like, here, watch a video, or here, read a book, like literally customized support. And the good thing is, especially for you guys who struggle with dogs who have reactivity and aggression, bringing a new person in your house is a trigger in itself, because your dog has A, to get comfortable with that person, B, he is stressed and he will not be able to take in. So you guys will spend hours and sessions for long for the dog to get comfortable with the person, and then the person has to create a bond with that dog, which you already have. So if you would have the skills that trainer or that behaviorist have to deal with your dog, if you have those, that would be a perfect situation, right? And this is where I'm coming from, because I want you to learn those skills, and I want you to have those tools already pre-programmed with you, so you can recognize situations as they coming up, not when they're happening. As if you see the trajectory of that event happening, and like, ooh, my dog's behavior suddenly changes, he's stressed, I can see those subtle and micro situations that happening right now, these micro signals, correct. And then those micro signals will be your keys to step in and says, hey, my dog needs help, or let this event continue because I know my dog and I know the situation. And sometimes you have to have things come up on their own, and sometimes you have to intervene, but that needs experience. And it's not something that I would say, yeah, well, once we work together, you'll be out there being a dog trainer. And that's not what I'm saying. However, you will know a lot about your own dog, likely more than a trainer that will come into your house and has to build that relationship and that assessment. Now, the other thing that I see here is that I see many people struggling with the concept that the trainer comes in, the trainer becomes the crutch of that, and the trainer leaves with that knowledge, and you have to deal with it for a couple of months on your own without that real support, right? Um, a lot of puppies from my 11-month-old litter have high anxiety. The mom was an incredibly nervous dog, to the point of it took the rescues about a year to get her fairly comfortable with people. My pup is in training, but we walk around letting him meet people and kids. Yeah, so we have a genetic predisposition, and from my understanding, what I have researched, and the science is kind of very broad, um, very broad understanding what exactly percentage the genetic affects the dog's personality and how much are the environmental factors. So for my picture, what I get is basically, I would say 42% are genetic factors and 58% are environmental factors, which means you are control of most of what affects your dog. And we have to see it from a separation between a pet dog in your home and a free roaming dog in on the earth, right? Like a free roaming dog, for example, in Turkey, in Cyprus, in Greece, in Spain, in Portugal, wherever you go, you have free roaming dogs who live on their own. You will see they have a different way of coping with trauma. They literally just shake it off because the trauma is not infused and again. It's just one experience, and the dogs stay safe of it. Unfortunately, pets cannot complete the trauma experience, so that experience is not completed. It's uncompleted, um, and then the problem is unresolved, and that becomes a stuck trauma. It's it's more complicated than that. I'm just giving you kind of an overview. So what we have to create is we have to create a event where the whole thing is being completed. So he recognized that these things can be resolved, right? Now, even if it's genetic, you can affect genetics a little bit. You can not really change them, but you can shape them. You can help the dog deal with those genetics, because the genetics basically give the dog those breed traits, and you can have that frame of breed traits between positive of and negative breed traits directions. For example, persistence is a good trait, because a dog who is persistent will stick to his job. But then that persistence can backfire to you if that the dog doesn't like to change and has difficulties changing. So he gets stuck with things, right? Then people call it stubborn. Okay, I have my dog, like say, for example, your dog is hunting and he's persistent, sticking to the job, sticking with you. And if he's not persistent, then he's all over the place. He will adhere and squirrel and this and that, and he's uncontrolled. So that's what I'm talking about. So yes, you can affect it slowly, slowly. The older the dog gets, the less likely is that you have to that ability. But the earlier you start and create that foundation for the dog to have a solid character, even if a bad thing happened and a trauma situation happens, that doesn't become a stuck trauma, because the dog has already tools to navigate around that. It's not different than with children. So if you have a child that has a secure attachment relationship with the parents, and we slowly put in morals and ethics and have everything in place, then at some point, if the child really has a traumatic experience, he knows how to handle it, right? Yeah, I appreciate that. So Phoenix are great with obedience unless and exactly, that's what I'm talking about here, right? Good. So we see when a dog has experiences and has an emotional imprint of the situations, he's most likely to handle it. So usually for those cases, I use a dummy dog, like a fake dog, and I break the dog's not spirit. No. We're not breaking a dog's spirit. We're not punishing the dog. What we do is basically we help the dog recognizing that what he sees is not always the reality. So you have to see it from a perspective. The dog's reality is what the dog perceives as environment, what's happening in front of him, which doesn't mean it's the same reality that you see. So your dog sees a monster trying to attack and kill him. He feels a prey. He feels a victim at that point, right? And you see just this little dog yapping and barking at him. Like, dude, it's just a little bugger. So what's the big deal? What you see in the dog and what the dog sees in the dog are two different things. So your dog can eventually dissociate for that and basically shut down. You don't want that either. And some training approaches do exactly that. They punish the dog for having that experience, and the dog dissociates from that, and basically the dog shuts down, and then he sees another dog and he melts. They get both. So flooding is something you should not do. Okay, definitely not. And correcting your dog, you should not do. It's nothing to correct. The dog caused a traumatic experience. In other ways, you have to help your dog get out of there as quickly as possible, feel safe, and then go back later with a different approach and see that. Even if that means you have to do a circle around the trauma, so the dog, about the trigger, so the dog can see that problem from different observations. And I also see that some dogs do not like to approach dogs face to face, because that means attack, right? But a butt is safe. So when I use my dummy dog, I teach dogs to approach safely from behind and prove him what he saw as a dog, and his body system triggered, his sympathetic system triggered for him to go in that fear response, to prove it like, oh, I thought it was a dog. Oh, no, it's not a dog. And all of a sudden, the mind gets that click aha experience. So what I see as a dog is not always a dog. It could be a safe thing. Yes. And then I start positive reinforcing that. Seeing a dog, first response is checking in with me and see how I feel about it. This is something we should deal with, something we should avoid. And this is where the secure attachment is important. If the dog doesn't communicate with you, you will not have those tools. That's roughly what it is. So, I really like your questions, guys. Really, I'm almost out of coffee. So, any other additional questions? Did you guys share this video, by the way? Because you know what? It's good to know things, but sometimes you have to share your knowledge with people else, like I do. How do you like the approach? How do you like the approach of not going as first default, punishing a dog, correcting the dog, showing who's the alpha and who's the boss? Because that doesn't help the dog at all. All it does adds another problem to the problem. So you're stacking up problems, problem over problem, and now your dog is drowning in that. Not only has a problem with the problem he has, but he also has a problem with you, in addition to his problem that he has. Good. Okay. So, for you guys who have, what is your experience with different training? Who of you had already worked with a trainer before, and how did it go so far? I'm interested to hear that. So again, this is Roma with Holistic Dog Training, and if you need to reach out to me, you can either go to my website, or you message me on Facebook, or you go into that link here, holisticdogtraining.org/online training, and go there and basically go over the options that I have. I have individual sessions, I have small training programs, and I have more complex training programs. Basically, my programs are 3 based. The one is for very simple behaviors, like my dog is jumping on people kind of thing. Then we have more complex behaviors. My dog responds aggressively towards people, or he's being weird in the yard, or he's aggressively responding on the leashes. Things that you see as you're struggling with. It's not just the one problem, it's more complex problems. And then I have more complex programs that are going in the directions the dog showed a behavior that is very concerning. He bit, he snapped, he had intentions to bite the person. Then I have a healing program, which is a little bit more intense. So I pretty much cover everything. Good, that's good, Laura. So if you need help, let me know. Good. I think we're pretty much answered all the questions. Did I miss anyone? Raise your hands if anybody felt I missed his answer. I see a lot of Facebook users, so I'm not sure if I missed anyone going quickly. Oh, see, I missed one. Okay, question. We live in a townhouse and our relatively new next door neighbor has a big, talkative German Shepherd and a mouthy Shar-Pei. So, what's your dog? I don't see that. Okay, so answer. I hope you are still here, following. Tell me what your dog is struggling with. So, if you're looking for proactive work, what I would like you to do is ask the neighbors if it's okay for you to interact with those dogs, because some dogs are weird. Okay, now sometimes we don't have influence to the neighbors, so you have one easy tool: create a separation so they have no visual contact. And we're not judging the neighbors. We don't know what they're struggling with. Some people want to train their dogs, they don't have money for it. Some people have no clue what's happening. So we have to be very gentle how we approach this concept. And then we want to make sure that the neighbors are in tune, because the last thing we want is a dog make you a problem for interacting with his dogs. So what we're going to do is basically teaching the other dogs how to behave in your presence, what to expect from it. And your dog should feel that you have things under control. In that case, I would definitely start with your dog being on the leash, going out in the yard, start doing some focusing exercises so your dog pays attention, start in the house with low distraction, and then move your way slowly outside without the other neighbors' dogs being out there. So basically you wait for the guys to go away from the yard, and then you go outside working with your dog, unless you have a weirdo next door who actually waits for you to let the dog out so his dogs can be entertained. It's not what we want. And start working for your dog on paying attention, and through some exercises where your dog pays attention to you and ignores the others. By doing so, the other dogs will actually will fade out because they see that your dog is not responding to their behaviors, and so that is not being rewarded either. So another answer here, I'm not sure, is territorial or overly protective. Had a trainer come to my home who was very impressed by Phoenix's behavior. She had her own dogs she brought to meet Phoenix, but when we went outside, a neighbor dog went into attack mode from behind its fence, and Phoenix went ballistic. Trainer left and didn't hear back from there. I'm really sorry to hear about that. Yes, I can definitely help you with this. This is what I was talking about. When dogs get triggered, it's nothing you can do. You have to keep the dog back safe. But slowly, we can have the dog work with trusting you. Sometimes leash is very helpful to have the dog more in control. Dogs sometimes feel helped being controlled by the leash without you yanking and pushing and choking. It does make sense, right? And then start creating those small triggers in the house. For example, knocking at the door. Help your dog start creating self-regulatory systems so he can go through the process when he's outside, how he will respond, right? So you have to really go slow, something you cannot overly quickly do. I know some people will resort to aversive tools and punishing it, helping the dog shutting down quickly. This is not what you want to do, because it may stop the dog for doing what he does, but it comes with a high price, something your dog will definitely not be happy about. Okay, so I guys really appreciate your questions today. We have only 10 minutes left. Closing, yes, definitely. Yeah, I do not support shock collars, and I know many people was like, one of those guys. I accidentally know how they work. I can, technically speaking, build one from scratch. I have the skills, I have the technical knowledge, the engineering knowledge to build one from scratch. And I had used shock collars in the past. I'm not happy about it. It was an experience for me. I thought I was very successful with it. I found out afterwards, because I didn't know better, that they do damage. And as soon as I recognized that, I dropped the whole thing. It was 10 years ago. And I never looked back. And I'm very happy about that. And I was able to work with dogs who are more reactive than I ever thought I would be able to handle with the shock collars. So I know where most people are coming from. I do understand the concept, and I understand the miscommunication and confusion is out there about these uses. It's a no-no. And I can prove it, like in multiple occasions, and can prove it. Even the slightly a trigger, okay, can do harm to your dog. Okay, some dogs will take it easier, some dogs will not take it easy at all. But you know what? You're gonna risk it. You're gonna test it on your dog, and then oops, and then you have already a problem, right? And then you're using a tool that you cannot live without. How does it sound to you, right? So from a beginning, I feel there's nothing to correct on that behavior. It's something your dog's mindset has to feel good about it. And adding another stimulus to the existing stimulus is not something your dog wants at that point. The last thing you want is trying to navigate around the problem, and suddenly something happens to you and you get frustrated about the situations, even if that is just a fly. Oh, damn it, go away from me. How do we respond to that little fly on our skin if we're focusing on something? Get that picture here, okay? So, it was nice talking to you guys. Thank you for your awesome questions. I wouldn't say they're challenging, but I really like where you guys coming from, and how open you are to ask those questions. This is a safe place to share your problems, and whoever tries to be smart about it or tries to kind of like tell you how bad you are, it's not go. So good. Um, Kelsey, here you go. Well, see what? Right, the last one, okay? So my dog is not doing well with dogs. However, he has lived with four dogs until we moved recently and did fine besides some food aggression issues that were fixed. My dog is now home alone all day and I notice he's missing the interactions. How do you go about introducing a new dog to him? Well, it's a good question. It really depends on how the dog lived with the other dogs. And the reason why I'm asking that is because dogs who live only with particular friends, like four friends, get monosocialized. And monosocialization, hi there, um, my co host on another show that we have about dogs. You should follow, little friends here. And what happened is dogs get monosocialized and they know the slang. They know their language. It's kind of like you having a thing with your family and you guys talk all your family things and nobody has a clue what you're talking about. And then you want to go outside, sitting on a bar, try to talk the same thing that you're talking to your family, and people are like, okay, I need to go now, right? So having those lack of social skills will be a problem. So what you're looking for is you have to start with your dog from scratch to teach him social etiquette. How do dogs meet? How to be patient? How to be interactive? And you can create those events and you can interact with your dog, teaching him how to use excitement control, how to learn about engagement. Engagement and excitement are two different things. Engaging means the way I connect with the other partner, and excitement is what level I do that. I can hug you, I can hurt you, or I can hug you. Okay, it is the same. I'm doing something around your body. In the way I do it and the way I intend to do that, and my level of how I interact with you makes a big difference. How you perceive that as a threat or just a care. And so based on that, once we have that settled in and we have kind of like something stable to point off, for example, your dog recognize that something that you have in your hands or you have in your possession or in your near environment is something that you protect and guard, and he has to respect your space and stay out of it. Those are skills your dog needs to know before you introduce another dog. And the other dog should have, of course, know some basic skills too, like paying attention to you, good leash skills. Okay, his dog should know that pulling on the leash is not what's expected, and if he feels threatened, he should come to you in return. And then, usually, what I do, I have a through fence introduction, where both dogs can meet with each other in a safe environment. Usually, I use a long fence of a school district, where you can have a long fence going side by side, having a person walking the other dog and you, your own dog, and you guys do a couple of rounds and helping your dog feel safe. And then you start in a safe distance and then slowly move closer and closer as your dog feels more and more confident that you handle it and you are protecting the situation. Have your dog walking on the outside and you are on the inside, shielding your dog from the potential threat. And you, of course, you have to use reward based approach. Now, reward is not always treats, and I know many people says, your cookie cutters always treat, right? So dogs don't always try treats. Sometimes dogs love affection. Some dogs just love appreciation and emotional feedback. However, dogs who are stressed will not taste the treat. So even if you like to give the dog a treat, the dog will spit it out because for him, it has no taste. In that level of excitement, which is an indication how excited your dog is or how stressed your dog is where his taste system basically shuts off. He doesn't need it. He doesn't use it. His body system's focusing on something else. In other words, if you're in a panic mode, your car is just falling down the cliff, would you open your sandwich? You don't think on the sandwich. You don't want this damn thing. You want to get out of the car, right? So from that perspective, recognize that your dog eventually will not take a treat. That's why we have proactively conditioned the word good. Some people use also the clicker, and we condition markers. Markers are good markers, positive markers, and negative markers, right? And so we have a marker which is good, and we have a negative marker which is no. But that has a meaning, has emotional meaning, and no doesn't mean punishment. No means a no go. It's kind of like, do you like to eat my brick? No. Good. So if I say no, you don't really want that. And so once you associate the markers with something emotionally, then you can use them. Okay. So, Laura, I get it. I know it was funny, right? Sometimes we have to loosen up a little bit things. So my proposal is start teaching your dog basic skills, teaching your dog how to communicate with you better, start teaching your commands and your words that are emotionally associated. And then, only then, you find him a good match that could be similar in temperament and behavior, eventually look with your dog he was playing in the past. Okay? And I don't like the concept of, oh, my dog is dominant, therefore I choose a submissive dog. It's kind of like saying, hey, I am feeling a victim and now I need to get a narcissistic partner. Doesn't sound good, right? No. So we need a dog who is educated, who speaks the good language, who has good manners, and yeah, he will be a diamond in a shelter, and you have to figure who that is. And yes, I can help you with that assessment by narrowing it down to pick one of 3 dogs where you feel more connected to. Some dogs are really jerks. Some dogs in a shelter are difficult to assess because of their stress environment. However, I have some tools for us to be able to narrow down the risk to a minimum. Okay. So thanks guys for watching. Really love your question. I'm glad you guys had fun with it. Thank you, my co-host, for joining in today. We're gonna see each other on Thursday, 9 o'clock p.m. Be sure you follow. Where we're going through different nice, interesting, informative stuff. I'm going to share the link in the comments for you guys to subscribe and follow, as well as my YouTube channel if you guys want. And looking forward to see you guys next week. Thank you for your comments. That's it. Thanks a lot and talk to you guys soon.